All you people are so scared of me.
Come quietly or there will be trouble.
Man, that's just me.
I'm Batman.
This is Sparta!
There is a tiger in the bathroom.
I'm an excellent driver.
If it bleeds, we can kill it.
Pop quiz, hotshot.
Keep the change, you filthy animal.
You're nothing to me but another dead vampire.
Hello and welcome back to this week's Monday Movie Show. Coming up in the DVD and Blu-ray section, we'll be looking at the DVD and Blu-ray top 10 for the UK and the latest movies, including
Seven Psychopaths. We have musical comedy Pitch Perfect, Cougars Inc., small little drama What Richard Did, Abandoned, and the TV movie of the week is The Shawshank Redemption.
Ooh, okay. I wasn't expecting that. But let's go straight into the DVD and Blu-ray top 10, starting at number 10 with Argo.
I really should do some more research on Argo, etc., to try and find something else to see about it. Will it be in next week's top 10? Probably, maybe. Possibly. It's a really good film.
That's it, just a really good film.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to hear more from number 9, Snow White and the Huntsman.
Which I thought was terrible. It was a crop of Snow White films which was released last year alongside Mirror Mirror. Both of them are terrible films anyway. This one...
Mirror Mirror is the better one of the two.
Charlize Theron, she plays the Wicked Queen. Every single time I see the advert of it with Charlize Theron shouting at the huntsman, "You must do this for me, huntsman!" I'm thinking, shut up. I would just smack her across the head with the axe that I have. So,
yeah,
no,
they end up being beheaded, though.
I don't care. It's a terrible... I just thought it was a terribly boring film. Kristen Stewart is about as much use as a plank.
So is Chris Hemsworth's accent. Number 8 is Taken 2. You're not really having much luck with these, are you now?
No. We start off with a really good film and then we go majorly downhill. Taken 2 is just a rubbish cash cow of a film. Okay,
so moving on to Twilight Saga Breaking Dawn Part 2 at number 7.
Pass.
Which you still haven't watched and you're not going to watch. Damn it, people. Why are you not voting to get him to watch this last week? You should have done it. No, it's the best out of all the Twilight films. It's just the fact that it's taken them 3.5 films to get to this level of decent filmmaking that's rather annoying about it. Although, again, Kristen Stewart is just... really, I mean, it's a more interesting performance of her because she's now a vampire in the film, but other than that, really, nothing much to it.
Yeah, Pinocchio's got better facial expressions than she does.
Number 6 is Skyfall.
Very below average Bond film, to be honest. I'm not going to stick up for myself because I'm sick of people just saying, "Oh, no, you're wrong, this film's fantastic." It's below average.
I disagree, but we'll move on to number 5, Rise of the Guardians.
I finally get to see something nice about the film. Whoopee! Rise of the Guardians. I really like Rise of the Guardians. It's a really good kids animated film. There's a few scares in it for kids there. It's really nicely animated. And he thought it was very average. I thought it was better than average. I really enjoyed it.
Oh, that's it. Okay. Number 4, Silver Linings Playbook. Have you seen it yet? You haven't seen it yet, no. I mean, I said in the DVD section, in the cinema section, because I had a film with Bradley Cooper, who is absolutely fantastic in it. Best performance he's done to date. Before that, his best performance has been Silver Linings Playbook, which is a really surprising drama with him and Jennifer Lawrence in it. I was honestly gobsmacked by it, and also Robert De Niro in a good supporting role as well. So it's a great drama that should be seen. I'm honestly surprised how much I enjoyed it. And number 3 is Ted,
which I really thought was the best comedy of last year. It made me giggle so much in the first 15 minutes. I think I've laughed more in the first 15 minutes of Ted than practically any comedy film of the last 5 years. It is the funniest film I've seen in the past 10 years, to be honest. It is that funny. Seth MacFarlane, it was his directorial debut, big screen-wise, and he's a genius in my eyes. His jokes, if you're offended by his jokes, then you will be really offended by this movie, but it's really, really funny.
Anything to say about the number 2 film, Tinkerbell, Secret of the Wings?
Oh, God, no.
Obviously a Disney film. And at number 1 is The Hobbit: An Unexpected Journey.
Which, again, a lot of people shout at me for saying that this film is very average. Because it's slightly above average. There is some elements of the film which works really well. It's overly too long. Again, I get shouted at that. You should see what Mark Savage said about the film, who's the lead guy at Following the Nerd.
Oh, yeah.
He absolutely hated this movie, but he didn't like the Lord of the Rings trilogy. So I thought it's more of a middle movie. Like I said on Following the Nerd, it's more of a film where you feel like it's a bit of a stopgap. When you watch a TV series where it might have a run of a couple of episodes which are very big, epic-style episodes, then you'll get an episode which calms things down. This felt like it was a calmer things down kind of episode of the trilogy. So it felt more like of a middle rather than a starting of a trilogy.
And that's the top film for the UK DVD and Blu-ray releases. We're going to take a quick break, after which we'll get straight on into our reviews.
Right, advert. What do I need to say in an advert? Well, I need to say that we're the Gamescast. I need to say that we're on Twitter at the Gamescast. I need to say we're on Facebook. I need to say we've got a website, thegamescast.com, and I need to say we're on YouTube. Oh yeah, and we're on this thing called Spreaker.com. Don't know where that came from. What else? That's probably it. Right, better record it. Oh, crap. That was 30 seconds. The Gamescast. Grown-up gamers talking about games. Allegedly.
So that's the Gamescast, who are intermittently doing a show every now and again when they are able to put one together. Let's go straight into our first review for the DVD section, which is Seven Psychopaths, which is written and directed by Martin McDonagh, who did In Bruges. It stars again Colin Farrell in the lead role as Marty, who is a screenwriter working and living in Los Angeles. He's having problems writing this script that he's trying to put together, so he's sort of hanging around with his friend, played by Sam Rockwell, plays Billy. What Billy has sort of going on the side, though, with him and his friend Hans, played by Christopher Walken, have this bit going on the side where they are essentially dog napping people's pets, waiting for a reward to be posted for them, and then turning up to collect the reward with the animals. Marty is having this problem of he's trying to write this script that he's got an idea for. He's got the title, which is called Seven Psychopaths, but he's really struggling to come up with a story and an idea for it, and even to come up with the psychopaths. So when he's sitting talking with Billy, Billy then suggests one to him that he's seen in a local paper. Here's a clip.
I got a psychopath for you can write about. Did you see this thing in the paper the other day about those two mafia guys who got whacked? How about this? There's a serial killer going around, a major wacko. However, he ain't like your usual limp-ass serial killer, type of freckle-headed hitchhiker on a highway. No, this guy, he's got a little bit more integrity. This serial killer will only kill mid to high-ranking members of the Italian-American organized crime syndicate. Or the Yakuza. You know.
It's a great psychopath, Billy.
Do you think?
A serial killer who will only kill
mid to high-ranking members of the
Italian crime syndicate.
Or the Yakuza. Yakuza.
I'll keep it the mafia, say he's doing Jap dialogue.
Good idea.
It's a great psychopath, Billy. Can I keep it?
You can if you let me help write the movie with you.
What happens then is that they're on the side gig that Billy and Hans have been involved in includes one of the dogs that they've stolen happens to belong to a mob boss played by Woody Harrelson, who is then on the lookout to get his dog back and ends up sort of following the trails leading to them. Meanwhile, at the same time, what's happened is that Billy, trying to convince Marty to let him help him with the writing, he's actually sent out a letter and ad in the local paper, asking for people to come to him who think they are psychopaths, so he can then tell them a story and he can then come up with this list of 7 psychopaths. All the time, things leading up to this ongoing thing of the mob trying to find them and them trying to make sure that they don't get caught because of the fact that the mob's obviously going to kill them. It's a very weird and interesting film. The thing is with it, because I'm one of the people who saw In Bruges, thought it was really good, but I didn't find it as funny as a lot of people did. This is the same for me. I enjoyed this. I found it to be a very good thriller, but an oddly not as funny film as I was expecting it to be. I did laugh. I've seen it now the second time, and I did laugh more the second time round that I saw it. But the first time round, I didn't find it especially funny. I thought it was really well put together. There are some really weird touches in it here and there because as Marty is explaining some of the psychopaths he's coming up with and explaining the story, you see kind of like a flashback of the story he's telling. And there's a weird thing going on with all the psychopaths where if they're based on a real person, some of them have weird connections to each other. And it works in so much as the narrative going on from leading into this weird thing of them and the dog and the mobster trying to catch them and get his dog back. It's weird that it works because it's kind of all over the place in how it gets to where it's going, but it's fun, it's odd, and I quite like that about it. It's not going to be to everyone's taste. There's some bits in it which are quite laugh out loud but shocking moments. One involving a bit where Sam Rockwell's character is explaining his idea of how the movie should end. End in like a big massive gunfight and people getting shot and things like heads getting blown off and stuff. But aside from that, there's not really a lot more graphic in it in the film. But it's just a fun, enjoyable film. It's rated 15 because it's quite strong language throughout. There's a couple of uses of the C word, and it's quite strong throughout. But I quite enjoyed it.
I can't comment on it because I've not seen Seven Psychopaths yet.
I'm curious to see what you'd make of it. I'm not sure if you'd like it or not. I would be curious to see if you get a chance to see it and see what you think.
We'll see. Right, I'll go on to Pitch Perfect then. It's directed by Jason Moore, and it's sort of... You don't want me to see that TV programme which it resembles, do you?
What, Fame?
No, the G one. The one beginning with G.
Oh, God, yeah.
Yeah, it's very similar to that. Honestly, it does. It's very similar to that, and it centers around it's on a huge, massive campus. You've got the sort of like the groups with the musical groups. I don't want to say the G word because they're very much like the G word. They're musical groups. They're split off into different factions, but the two lead groups in this campus place are the Treble Tones and the Barden Bellas, and the Barden Bellas are always keep on constantly getting treble makers. Always keep on getting beaten by the treble makers at competitions at regionals specifically because the Barden Bellas are mainly just wanting to do music from the 80s, where the treble makers always seem to do more upbeat kind of tracks, and they get beaten again thanks to Aubrey, who's the leader of the Barden Bellas, who ends up throwing up in front on top of people because she's got so nervous. Fast forward a little time, yeah, and centres around a character, Becca, who's played by Anna Kendrick. She's joined this college because her father, who works at the school itself, says that she's got to get some kind of education rather than being a DJ is what she wants to do. She's on campus, she looks around, she tries to be persuaded to join the Barden Bellas. There's also another character there, Fat Amy, who's played by Rebel Wilson. She ends up joining them. Over time, Becca joins the Bellas themselves. One of the members of the Bellas, unfortunately, has something wrong which stops her able to hit notes which she can hit. Here's a clip.
I hope you all remember the way you feel right now so you will never want to feel this way again. Chloe, your voice didn't sound Aguilarian at all. Chloe, for serious, what is wrong with you? I have nodes.
What? Oh my God. I found out this morning.
What are nodes? Vocal nodules.
The rubbing together of your vocal cords at above average rates without proper lubrication.
They sit on your windpipe and they crush your dreams.
Isn't that painful? Why would you keep performing?
Because I love to sing.
Yeah, it's like when my lady doctor told me not to have sex for 6 weeks, and I did it anyway.
You should really listen to your doctor.
The key is early diagnosis. I am living with nodes. But I am a survivor. I just have to pull back. Because I am limited. Because I have nodes.
Chloe, this is horrible.
Well, at least it's not herpes. Or do you have that as well?
And so the Bellas are now together. Becca seems to be trying to introduce elements which might help the Bellas, but the leader, Aubrey, she just doesn't think that what she's trying to introduce into them is a good idea, because they need to go up against the Troublemakers, again, in regionals and in competition. And the rest of the film plays out with that kind of thing. It's a quite enjoyable movie. It flows at a decent pace. It's on for an hour and 50 minutes, actually. It sounds long, but it doesn't feel long. It feels like a 90-minute film. It's got a decent pace to it. There's a few decent musical numbers in the movie, which doesn't become annoying. The thing that becomes annoying is them referring to everything as Akka. Oh, the amount of times they added Akka onto everything in the movie grated on me so badly. It's just this Akka this, Akka fellas, Akka this. It's just annoying. It was if you're into horse racing in the UK, you know what Akka means. It's got something to do with a bet. So you probably think that it's horse racing terminology. But it's honestly a really great on you. But the film itself is not too bad. You've got comedy bits in there from Rebel Wilson's character, Fat Amy, which they're not funny, to be honest, but at least it adds a little bit of light humour to the movie. It is very cheesy. And there is a typical love triangle in there somewhere, but for the film, it's not too bad. It's an okay film for what it is.
If I go on to Cougars Inc. next, then, which is written and directed by K. Asher Levin. It's a comedy drama which stars Carl Gollner as Sam, who is a boy who's basically been bounced out of a couple of boarding schools for one reason or another. He's arrived at this new boarding school, which the head teacher is played by James Belushi, who is then sort of talking with him about the issues of why he left his other schools, why he got kicked out, and it's explained essentially through quick, weird sort of flashbacks of how he's got involved in things like drugs when he was young, and in a comedy sort of way, and he sort of did things at the schools which then got him expelled. It turns out now he's arrived at this new school. He's there, he's meeting sort of new friends and such, and things aren't going particularly brilliant for him because he just doesn't get on. He seems to be believing in this, he's sort of cursed and having this run of bad luck. And he ends up in a bar one night where he is underage but manages to get himself a drink, and is sitting there talking with a woman played by Catherine Morris, who is old enough to be his mother, and ultimately the two of them end up having a relationship later that night in a hotel room. Things then spread on afterwards from that, where the two of them end up having this sort of weird relationship, but then continuing to have the relationship while he then starts putting together a group of his friends to meet up with a group of her friends, because of the fact that his tuition money at the school has fallen through and his mother can't afford to pay for his tuition anymore, so he needs to find some other way of making money so he can then stay at the school. It's not much more to it than that. It's quite a simple thing. And it's basically, what it's doing is it's ripping off Risky Business. The idea of Risky Business only switching on its head. Instead of it being about a female escort thing, it becomes a male escort thing, and it's a young male escorts thing for the older women. It's weird. It really is a weird film. It's not that funny as it really should be. There's moments in it where it's almost, you're sitting there and you're kind of cringe-inducing. There's moments there where you're sitting there and it could actually be funny, but just doesn't work in the film. There's also this weird thing going on that he has, where the character of Sam meets this girl Courtney, played by Sarah Hyland, who he then starts to kind of date her as well, and things. Then he starts to sort of find himself stuck between the two things and having to decide which way he's going to go, and it just really doesn't work. And it also even has this weird thing as it goes to the ending of it, where it's one of these things where the problem is it just suddenly stops and ends and the end credits start rolling. It doesn't pay off. There's not anything in it that makes it especially funny. You've got in there as well, I mean, she's on the cover, Denise Richards is in there as well, but she's in it for maybe 10 minutes of the 80-odd minute running time. It's not a long film, and it just really doesn't work. It's not funny. It's not particularly well done out drama. I don't know how they managed to get Jim Belushi to appear in it, or Denise Richards, and it's just really a waste.
You know when you're scraping the bottom of the barrel if you have Denise Richards on the front of your cover and expecting her to be in it for the whole film.
She is basically in the cover. She is the one right at the very front of it, and it's just everyone else is sort of in the background, and it doesn't work. It's an awful film. It just no.
Okay then, I'll go on to What Richard Did. It's a small little Irish film. It's directed by Lenny Abrahamson. He's done a couple of small films under the radar previously, and it centres around the character Richard, who's played by Jack Rayner, who's actually going to be in the new Transformers movie. So it centres around... Yeah, well, wait until I finish the review. I might give you a little bit of hope, to be honest, which I did, surprisingly enough. And it centres around Richard. He's the popular guy at school. It's not technically... You don't see anything school-wise in the film. But he's the popular guy. He's got a car, he's got a good money. There's a beach house which his family owns. He's on the rugby team, and so everybody, when he goes to parties, he's always stopping people. He's always really nice to people. He's one of these people who isn't arrogant with what he's got. He's very nice to people. Specifically, there is a character, Jack, who's this geeky friend who's obsessed with magic, but he's just about to join the rugby team, so he puts him under his wing and brings him to a party one night. And for the first 20 minutes of the film, it's just about Richard with his friends having a good time and having a party. And this clip here, I've got here, which centres around Richard meeting up with his family.
Look what the tide washed in.
Hey, Mum.
Did you enjoy the pre-gaff?
Yeah, can't complain. Hello. Beautiful. Hey, old Dad.
That's fantastic.
I think that's mine, actually.
I remember you buying it.
Take it easy on them brews. You're putting on weight.
One beer's not going to do him any harm.
It's the boy out there refusing a drink that he's competing against.
Oh, I know that boy. That's the boy with that friends, isn't it?
Cheers, Peter. I've only spent the last 6 years teaching him to be a winner.
Well, success is good. I like success.
Failure's not an option now, right, Pat?
That's it.
You're right, figure's not an option. It's a certainty.
Oh, come on.
Well, it is at some point for most people. I mean, it makes them human.
Very deep, Dad. All those long winter nights back in the day, huh?
Scandinavian thing, I reckon.
Big Scandinavian head.
No, it's not a Scandinavian thing. It's just a manic depressive thing. No. Go on.
Let's launch it.
Launch it.
Now, unfortunately, though, during one time when Richard's at a party, an incident happens which turns his life completely upside down. I'm not going to give away what the incident is because that's the last 35 minutes of the film. And it charts how Richard has a few tough decisions to make. Now, the movie itself is not bogged down by lots of weird camera shots or lots of things that should not be in the movie. It just centres around specifically Richard and his life practically, and it needed an actor who was able to hold this movie up because Richard's practically in every single scene of the film, and Jack Rayner has done a fantastic job of playing the character. He's a very likeable character, so when you watch the film you do get attached to the character that he is, and when the incident occurs, you sort of like follow it along properly with him. And for a character to do that, an actor to do that, is a real big feat. The director, Lenny Abrahamson, I'm going to have to watch one of his previous films, Dollhouse, not based on the Joss Whedon TV series, but again, it's a small little Irish film, so I might go back and watch that. But I highly recommend what Richard did. And like I said, Jack Rayner is going to be in the new Transformers film. He's the lead actor in Transformers 4. It gives me slightly more hope for the film if it's got somebody like him in it. Because if he's done so well with a character like this, he might be able to take a really crappy character that Michael Bay likes to write and give it a bit of more of a personality rather than just an empty, vapid soul. So What Richard Did is a really, really good film, and I highly recommend it. It is slow-paced, but that's the kind of film that it is. And if you go in expecting that you might see lots of blood, gore, etc., wrong film. Just go to see Evil Dead, which is out on Thursday, or something else instead. But if you want a movie that's more subtle and it flows at a really nice pace and has got some fantastic acting in it, then What Richard Did is highly recommended.
Abandoned, which is based on the novel by Leslie Schwartz. I think the novel is called Angel's Crest, from what I'm reading here. It's directed by Gabby Della, or it might be Delal, I'm not sure. But it's a story of a sort of small community out in sort of the wilderness, where Thomas Dekker plays Ethan, who is the father of this 3-year-old, who he goes out with him when it's snowed and is out sort of with him in his truck, stops to have a look and see at some a deer nearby. And when he goes back to the truck, his son has actually disappeared. His 3-year-old son is gone and he can't find him. A search party is alarms raised and a search party comes out and everyone's trying to search, including they then find his the child's mother, played by Lynn Collins, who is her and Thomas Dekker's character are estranged. She is a sort of a bit of a drunk and not really sort of a functioning person around everyone else. She then comes out trying to help searching everyone, the whole town is, and it's all about this whole thing of how the town then comes together, and there is this tragedy that then the town in a way kind of self-destructs a little bit. You have a couple who are played by a gay couple played by Elizabeth McGowan and Kate Walsh, who then are sort of fighting and arguing because of the things that have happened, and one of them is in support of him, of Thomas Dekker's character, and one of them is not in support of him, because he then is being brought up on charges by the local DA, played by Jeremy Piven. And it's all centering around this drama as well, because of the fact that Jeremy Piven's character is supposedly someone who's lost his child years earlier as well, so he's affected by this because it's bringing back the memories of his child. It's a really strongly emotional drama, and it's largely down to, you've got Thomas Dekker, who I've only ever seen before in the Terminator TV series. He played the young John Connor. He is surprisingly effective in this. There's moments in it where he is completely a shell of a person because of the fact that this has happened, and he's just so distraught and panicked. You have Lynn Collins in there as well, who's very good, because she is now realizing that she had this son which she's just basically ignored and not had a relationship because she is a drunk, and she's sort of finding these feelings then again, as well as being problems of if she's drinking or not drinking and such, and everything all sort of collapsing because of this. It's a really good piece of performance drama. There's not much else that goes on in the film, but it's seeing how a sort of a disaster, something like this, affects a small community, and how everyone's sort of has all these things like secrets and that they some people are aware of and such become common knowledge and such, and how that even all has sort of a knock-on effect. It's 92 minutes long, so it's not a very long film, and it's, as I say, a surprisingly emotional film. There's moments in it where you really are sitting there and you're not sort of welling up, but you can actually feel the sort of the performance, the pain of the performance, which is what's quite impressive about it. So I mean, it's a very hard one to sit through, and because of that, but it's a really good piece of drama. So if you're interested in something that's drama, you might want to check this out. I was genuinely surprised that I felt it that much.
2 films in a row, which is very similar then, because both what Richard did and I'm guessing from what you said about Abandoned are very similar in tone kind of films, so a good drama double bill in that case. Yeah,
very exhausting drama, I think. I don't know if I'm guessing what Richard did as well is the same.
It's not really exhausting, the film itself. It's not exhausting in that terms, but the pain what Richard does go through in the last 20 minutes of the film, there is specifically a scene where you see a lot of anguish on him and you do really feel for him.
Yeah, so it does sound very similar. Okay, let's go on to your TV movie of the week.
Which is The Shawshank Redemption. And it's, I originally had...
I was just thinking of going on to talking of emotional drama.
Yeah, I originally had Wanted down, but then I thought I'm going to have another look over the TV guide, and Wanted's just a bit of an obvious choice for me. And I saw the Shawshank Redemption was on ITV2 on Friday the 19th at 9 o'clock. So out of any channel to show it, ITV2 is showing the Shawshank Redemption. If you don't know anything about the Shawshank Redemption, then shame on you. It's directed by Frank Darabont. It's based on a Stephen King short story called Rita Hayworth and Shawshank Redemption. But it's an absolutely fantastically acted film from Tim Robbins and Morgan Freeman. It is, I think it's number 89 in IMDb's films of all time.
Is it that? I mean, I think it's the top 250. I think it's in the top 10 of all time. I think it is.
I've got it down here as 89 on the. That's the movie meter.
No, it's got a 9.2. I'm looking at the list now. It's actually the number one film. It is the number one film in IMDb's top 250, as voted by the users.
Yeah, for me, it's not that high, but it's still an absolutely brilliant film. It's one of those movies where, even though there is a few suspect scenes in the film itself, you wouldn't mind your children actually watching it of a certain age, that is, anyway. But it is such an impactful film, so I highly recommend, if you've not seen The Shawshank Redemption, to watch it on ITV2 on Friday the 19th. And again, this is UK.
Yeah, I do agree with that as well. It's a fantastic film. So if you haven't seen it, to be honest, where have you been? That's it for this week's show. Thanks for joining us. If you've been joining us live, or if you've been listening to us on iTunes or YouTube, please feel free to give us a rating and give us some feedback on the show. Let us know what works, what doesn't. We're always looking for some feedback and some updates on what we can do to improve. We'd like to give out a few shout outs, including some friend of ours, followingthenerd.com, who do a show on Thursday nights at 9 o'clock. You have lolacourse.co.uk, who do a show occasionally. I think they're on a break at the moment, but they are looking at doing a one-off show this month. And as you heard in the ad break during the middle of the show, you have thegamescast.com, who also do a show. Used to do it every Friday night, but they're now intermittently doing a show when they're available, because the guys are finding it difficult time-wise. We've also got a few other places. We've got FromPage2Screen.com, which is the number 2 in the middle, which is Stuart, who does a couple of podcasts during the week about British movies in particular, and one of them, and a general movie podcast at other points. And also a friend, Alan, through Following the Nerd, who is doing Menage a Geek. It's a new gaming podcast which he's setting up, which we're chasing him. Alan, we've been chasing you for an advert. Come on, send us one so we can get it played on the show. Any more than that, Stuart?
Yeah, you can follow Alan on Twitter at BaldGamerDude. He's an awesome chap, by the way. There's VoteSaxon07, who's a member of Following the Nerd. He's a fantastic guy. He does a lot of toy reviews, so check him out on YouTube. Search for VoteSaxon07. He also does a review of each of the Doctor Who episodes on a Sunday. Very thorough, very in-depth. If you've not seen the episode, make sure you watch the episode before you watch his reviews, but they are really in-depth reviews, and he also does parodies of trailers and things like that. So I'm following him on Twitter as well, VoteSaxon07. And Mark, who is the lead guy at Following the Nerd, he has a Star Wars show called The Empire Talks Back. So make sure you search for The Empire Talks Back on Spreaker, and I think it's going up on iTunes very soon. He's trying to get it up on there. And don't forget the Serum Foundation as well, serumfoundation.org.uk.
Yeah, just also mention as well, the mondaymoovieshow.co.uk is our main website where we do
We
have
should
updates.
Actually mention that first, considering it is our website.
But there's things on there, like there's been recently, we put up some trailers. There's the new Catching Fire trailer up there for the Hunger Games sequel. Hangover 3, the latest trailer for that, which does make it look fairly decent. And some written reviews and things like the top 10, and some also news and information on there too. So feel free to check that out, and that gets updated whenever possible daily. So until next Monday, again at 7:30, hopefully, as long as the gremlins stay out of the studio, we'll be back with the latest reviews, including things like Olympus Has Fallen, which comes out this week.
And Evil Dead.
Evil Dead, yes, which you're eagerly looking forward to, I'm sure.
Oh, yeah.
So until next Monday at 7:30, fingers crossed. Goodbye.
Bye.
So that.
You forgot the movie of the week.
See, why didn't you tell me? You should have. What do you want to pick for the movie of the week then? I've got an idea.
What Richard did.
Yeah, I knew it was going to be what Richard did. For me, I think it's going to be The Place Beyond the Pines. But if you've got a chance, go and see Oblivion on a big screen, the biggest screen. See it in IMAX.
Yeah, what Richard did.